What's going on, everybody? It's Mikey Wine here. How's it going? Welcome in. Brand new project. Today, yes, we're starting a new project. Finally, it's been a long ride, and trying something new. I got this new feature. You can see it on the screen there. It shows comments and real time. And you guys let me know if it's totally annoying. I can take that off the screen, but we're going to try it out and see what's up. Nigel was in first. He was 45 minutes early on that, and then we had Nick shortly after that, and Juggernaut, which is, I believe, isn't that's a new name for someone we know, I think. Anyway, let me know in the chat, guys. How's it going, everybody? So yeah, let me go down here. I'm going to show you the new next project. But there we go. We talked about this a little bit. We started it briefly last week after going over doing the final review on the M6185 Gundam tank and Zaku head diorama. Now we're going to start this commission project. It's Julius. That's what I thought. I was looking at the logo, the little picture there, and I was like, I know who this is, but tent window is fine by you. Okay, good. We'll leave it there for now. Okay. Hopefully, you guys can see it, and I don't know. I still see it the way I normally see it. I see it on the screen and on the sidebar. But anyway, so I started assembling some of these subsections of this, and we'll get right to that. Let me just back out here, and we'll show you the whole bench. So got a little bit going on over here. All the rest of the parts are on the wall in front of me, and I'm going to lift this up, get this up out of the way. And so I haven't glued some of this stuff together because I got to prime everything and do some separate colors and other things. And also I want to share something that I have come across already on this kit that I don't normally have to deal with when building a Valkyrie kit. And I think it just has to do with this particular one or this scale, maybe this scale, but also this version of Valkyrie is flying in atmosphere, so the intakes are a little bit different on the engines, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on that. You'll see what I'm talking about. So I found several injection pin marks, quite a few of them actually, that need to be addressed, and I'm going to go over how I'm doing that, and we're going to start with that. So let me go back down to the close-up here. And like I was saying earlier, the intakes on this are open. Normally, every single Valkyrie, other ones that I have built, have been made for out of atmosphere. So you have this grill that basically covers up the intake. Well, this one is not going to be that way. The actual intakes are open. You can see them. So this will go in here like so. Then you've got the side piece, which goes on here like so. We've got the actual fan, like the round fan piece here. That drops right in the bottom. I'm going to, where'd my tweezers go? There we go. Get that settled down in place the way it should be. Okay, and then we also have this top piece, which is the actual vent cover, but it's tucked into the top. So when this is completely assembled, it will look kind of like that. It's kind of hard to see with being all one color, but now you can see all those pin marks. So I've filled those with Mr. Dissolved Putty. There's actually 3 on that side, 2 on that side, and 1 on that center vent. So as you can see, like if I bring this, take these other pieces out here. I started to glue this together, and then I realized I had these pin marks I had to take care of because they will be visible. Like I was saying, normally this will be covered up, out of atmosphere. The vent is closed, but with it open, these louvers are tucked back behind the intake. So this is all open area here. And you see those 3 marks. What's up, Giovanni? How you doing? So I've got to address those because you're going to be able to see these intakes or see right in there. And if I don't, there'll be these ugly circles that I don't want to show up. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to make sure to know for sure if I've got them completely smoothed out until I hit them with some primer for the first time. Then we'll see for sure because this entire inside of this intake is all white. It's a different color than the rest of the aircraft. But let's go over what I do have kind of assembly here. I've got the head pieces, I've got both turrets, and these are just cut out. I have not. I glued on this back vent piece here, but I'm not going to assemble this because I've got to prime these and mask off the actual turrets and paint those a different color. So I'm building everything in small sections. Okay, so this looks like it's fully assembled. The wings are on a gear, but this top piece is not. In fact, I can just pull this off, and then you see what's going on inside. So there still has to be some paint work here because all that is visible. When you put these two halves together, you can still see in the back here. So that's all going to have to be painted before I attach these halves. One thing I have noticed in all these kits is some people together will actually try to address this as a seam line where these two halves come together. But for me, I don't actually try to seal that area off, and here's why. Because as this kit transforms, as these Macross transform into particularly Bataroid mode, there is a panel line you can see right across the top. I don't know if you can actually see it. Let's see if I can get an angle where you guys can. So right here, this line goes right across that. That is where the chest basically separates from the back portion, and this whole panel slides forward. So there would actually be no need to address the seam because that's an actual panel line, not a seam. Because as that piece slides forward to start to fold essentially into the Bataroid form, that seam, you would actually see that line there. So it's one thing that you don't necessarily have to do. Some people will address it; they'll try to fill it. But even the paint scheme, you can see that the chest piece is orange, and there's a separation between the bottom two halves. So this will be tan, that tan color, that light tan, and this top piece will be orange. So there's actually going to be a visible line there anyway. Getting a bit shuddering, buffering on the stream. I don't know. Is that on? Might be just on your end, Nigel, because I don't see anything on my end. Might just be your New Zealand internet at this point. So I just kind of put these together. So I'm kind of building these as I go, and struggle with it. You always struggle with ejector pin marks. Yeah, I don't always have to deal with it on these kits, but I noticed quite a few already. So I'm going to start working on those. The other side here, the other intake is still on the sprue, but you can see where I've actually put that dissolved putty on there already before I even cut those off, because I know I'm going to have to deal with it. And what I'm talking about is this stuff right here. And it's basically like a kind of a thick paint almost. It's really, really, it says it's dissolved putty, and you can actually thin this. I have had it get too thick, and it becomes a little bit unmanageable, so you can actually add some leveling thinner. And it's just basically like a relatively thick paint, or like exactly what it says. It's dissolved putty. It's like a putty that's not. It's more of a liquid form versus something you're going to squeeze out of a tube like toothpaste. And you can take it with a brush. And what I've done is I just took a small brush, this little guy here, and just get a little ball on the end there and to dab it over that pin mark, and it'll kind of flow right into those right in and around that groove that, you know, that's visible by the pin mark, and then dry. And once you let it dry, then you can sand it down and sand it level with the plastic. So then you no longer have that mark visible. But again, you won't know for sure until you put some primer down and look, you know, to make sure it's completely removed. There's actually a third one on this piece right here on this fin, but that's not going to be visible, so I'm not worried about fixing that one. Only the ones that are going to be visible through the intake. There's much shrinking with that. I wonder if I could still put these on. Yeah, I can. Okay, so a little bit. So that's a good question, because when I dab that little dot on there, and let's see if I can see it on this one, on some of these others. So say, for instance, this piece right here, you can see it is slightly raised. Like if I turn it to the side there, you can see that it's a little bit of a bump. You don't have to do that, but it's better that you have a little bit raised up, because obviously then when you sand it down, it's going to, you know, sand level with the piece. If you don't have enough in there, then when you go to sand it, you're still going to have a visible circle on that pin mark. So I'm just going to start sanding these, and I'm using my two 40 grit sanding sponges from God Hand, and this is by far the easiest way. I mean, you can use sanding sticks if you can get in here. Like I've got this little one, these little triangle sticks, and I'll sometimes get these in there. But typically, I'll do some of the heavy work with this, and then finish it with the sponges, if you can get the sponges in there. Like these are going to be kind of hard to get to, just by nature of the way the piece is designed. So I'm probably going to have to do everything with the sanding stick, only because I just can't, like even if you try to fold this, there's really no way to, I mean, you can kind of get in there, but it's not going to be very effective. So I'm just going to work away using the thin end. I guess I could probably even use this end. Yeah, this will work. And this is just a smooth surface. There's no panel lines or anything here to worry about. So I'm just going to be going. The only problem is it kind of takes a little bit of a bend. If you look at this piece, this wall is not straight. It starts this way and then kind of narrows at the top. So there's actually two angles. So it's going to take a little bit of extra care, as long as you don't deform the outside. I'm just going to try to get rid of most of that material. Finally, that chat was working, but the live was just sitting in wait mode. Huh, interesting. What's up, Nick? So, you mean when it started, you couldn't see the video? You could only see the... Yes, Nigel says, I also use Mr. Surfacer with that toothpick. Small spots. Yeah, that's kind of the same idea. Mr. Surfacer is probably, like the 500 is probably thicker than this dissolved putty. And I can kind of open this up again if I really want to see it and give you an idea. Just now, this, I have thinned this before. I have a couple jars of this. You really don't use a lot at any given time, but it's a good extra thing to have here. So I'm going to use this little stir stick here, so you can kind of see just how it's just like really kind of thick paint. Can you see that? But it kind of has a little bit of an odor to it. But it's way better than using, Tamiya putty, because I was talking to Nigel about Tamiya putty. Something I didn't realize about Tamiya putty is that it works great until you try to spray lacquers over it, like lacquer primer or even lacquer paint. It'll reactivate the putty, and then you end up with a seam line or whatever you're trying to fix. Like in this case, injection pin marks. You might actually make them show up again just by spraying lacquers over them. So I like this because it's already a lacquer based product, so the paint, the primers and stuff don't touch it. Similar consistency to Surface Pro 1500. No, I was thinking more like 500. 500 is thicker, but 1500 is really thin, or a finer grit primer like than 1000. 500 is going to be thicker stuff. Let me see where I've got my 500 around here. Here we go. So I've got a bottle of 500. Let me just see what this is like. Yes, this is the same type of lid here. Now this has been thinned as well, but let me just stir it up so you can get an idea. This is actually, yeah, you know what? It might be pretty close. This is 500, and it's kind of doing the same kind of thing. It's just gray color. So you could probably do the same thing with this as well as that dissolved putty. I can really feel it around the edges as I'm kind of digging into this. And yeah, this is slightly thinner than the putty, but then again, you know, I've added some Mr. Surface or the leveling thinner to this because it got a little too thick. So you want it to be somewhat pliable, somewhat brushable, but I guess it's preference. If you like Surfacer, go ahead and use it. I think I had the dissolved putty way before I had any of the Surfacer 500. So it was just out of necessity. That's what I was using. Now I've got both. It kind of gives you choices. All right, so we're going to keep working on these pin marks, and then I'm going to cut those others off the runners, and then we'll start cleaning those up. So I might have, let's just say the 500 is thick, but shrinks so much. Does it really? Yeah, I don't see too much of that shrinkage with the putty, the dissolved putty. So maybe that's the noticeable difference between the two products, is that the Surfacer is good for filling, for gap filling and stuff. I wouldn't use the dissolved putty necessarily for gap filling. I think it's ideal for this kind of thing, fixing these pin marks. I think I've done just about what I can do with those. So I'm going to work on this. I'll use the big stick for this. Make short work of it. Just trying to be careful not to get into those louvers, those grooves are here, and I don't want to sand those off. Like this pin mark is almost disappearing completely. You just barely see a little bit of that putty left. It's kind of hard to see because of how bright the color is, but you can kind of just barely see that. That's a good indication that that's going to disappear nicely. It's not going to show up at all. And then I just said, to me, a putty is also not great for scribing. Mr. Surfacer is much better to scribe through. True, I haven't had terrible or terribly bad issues with scribing. You just have to make sure that it's dry, you know, it's fully cured. And to me, a putty is pretty soft though, and you can end up pulling some of that material out if you end up getting a little too aggressive with your chisels or whatever you're trying to scribe. There's one other piece here that has to go on the side. And I'm debating whether I should glue this on. I guess it won't hurt. It just goes on the outside of this. This is the outside of the intake. So I'm just going to glue this on. I wanted to make sure I had most of the pin marks taken care of before I tried to glue this on, because it's just kind of a piece that kind of sticks out there, and I didn't want to. Once I get this centered, I'm just going to go around it. With my glue. Okay, and we'll let that sit. All right, now I think I'm ready to take some more of these. I want to keep these all together because there is a left and a right to this. So I don't think that the louvers necessarily need to be worried about it, but is I cut the others off here. And here's those actual, this is if you're using those intakes in a closed position, you would actually install these. And what I'll do is when I get this together, I'm going to cut one of these out and I'll show you what it would look like closed. And that's the main reason why we have to address all these ridiculous pin marks is because of the open intakes. All right, so that one would be, let's see, this one here. Okay, I'm going to cut this one off, even though we're not going to use it, just so I can show you the difference between open and closed intakes. Automotive spray putty is a great product as well. Decent from the can. It can be used in an old airbrush. Interesting. I've not tried that. So I'm just roughly cleaning up this. Don't really need to spend too much time on this because we're not going to use this piece, but let me just finish flipping all the nubs here. I know some of this stuff is kind of mundane, but for those that have never really dealt with pin marks or attempted to for whatever reason. Let's see. Giovanni says, I've used Mr. Putty, but in my experience, it does shrink a lot. Maybe I've just used more, and I've just used it enough that I end up putting more down knowing that it's going to shrink a bit. Maybe that's the difference that I'm thinking of, is because I guess if you're aware of that property, that it does shrink a bit, it can help you as you use it, knowing that it's going to shrink a little bit, it's okay to add just a little bit of extra. All right. Oh, you know what I'm missing? I'm missing one. Where are they? I got one more of the fans. There we are. I forgot the intake fan piece. I got to cut that off. That was over here. All right. There's actually a second fan. You can see these here, but those go in the top of the leg. So there's two of them. One goes in the intake and one goes in the top of the leg. And it's easy to tell the difference because the ones that go in the leg have a border around them. So there's no way you're really going to mistake those. Get them mixed up. Cut these so perfect I don't even think I could feel where I need to sand. Just a little bit. And these will be painted silver. Okay, so here's the difference. So if we take this side piece, I don't even think we need that intake back there. We just take the side piece, pop it on here. Okay. So you remember the open intake has this round kind of funnel, then you've got the fan piece that goes inside of that, and then you've got the louvers that are tacked onto the back here. But this one, the closed one, goes right up here like that, essentially shutting off the entire intake. And since this one's flying in atmosphere, we don't need that. We're not going to use that piece. All right, so let's get to fixing these pin marks on this side anyway. So I'm keeping these just kind of separate. That's for this one. I'll keep these separate over here, separated. As you get that pin mark down, the putty almost starts to completely disappear, depending on how deep you want to go. I don't need to necessarily sand it completely off. All I'm trying to do is just level out that surface, so when I prime it, that mark is no longer visible. So I think we're pretty good. And you can see quite a bit. It creates a little bit of dust. There's a good amount of it on my board here just from sanding that off. These are raised. I can actually see the bump on them, so there's going to be a noticeable difference too. I'm going to give Warhammer Figures another go, huh? About a squad of Space Marines, intercessors. This time I'm using Vallejo Black Thinner. Okay. Cool. I've got another coworker that actually asked me to paint. He wanted me to give him a quote on painting, I think, 6 or 7. I did one not too long ago. It was a Dead Space. Dead Space kind of meets Warhammer crossover. So it was a 3D printed Warhammer figure at about 70 millimeter. I think it was like 70 millimeter. Let's see, 20. Yeah, it was about 70 millimeter probably. Anyway, but the armor was based off of the Dead Space video game. Anyway, I just did the one figure for like $100 and did a little couple extras. He actually paid me a little bit more for it, but I'm trying to figure out if I want to do this little army. He's got like 7 guys he wants to paint. They're all pretty much the same, so it might be more of like a assembly line kind of a process. So it may not be as complicated as painting 7 individual figures, because it's going to be just repeating a repetition. So we'll see. I'm not sure I want to do it yet, but it's kind of cool. It's nice doing minis again. I mean, back in the day when I was painting minis, it was before plastic injection, or even way before 3D printing stuff. They were actually made with they were lead or pewter. They were cast. There were a lot of flashing, a lot of defects, but they were cast like tin, or cast lead, cast pewter. I think lead wasn't really used because of its obviously poisoning properties of it, but pewter was probably more common. And we used to paint those by hand as well. Now with the 3D injection stuff, or the injection molding, or the 3D printed stuff, it's kind of amazing. What's up, dude? Haven't been in there. How you doing, man? Haven't seen you in a while. It is Phil Artiste Studio. Hope all is well. Shouts from New York City. Nice. I'm busy with work. Got to catch up. Cool. Well, thanks for coming in, man. We're actually starting a new project, full stream. I mean, last week we kind of finished up the other one and started kind of briefly cutting out some parts, but now we're headlong into the this commission Macross kit. And right now I'm just cleaning up injection pin marks, because nothing says I love injection pin marks more like doing a small scale Macross kit. I'm just kidding. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just trying to make sure that when I paint this, You're not going to be able to see them. That's the whole point. I'm pretty sure years and years ago, I probably wouldn't have even addressed this. I'd have just left them alone and said, screw it, deal with it. So in case you're wondering, I'm sure you saw it in the cover photo, but this is the kit we're building here. Oh, get on the screen better. There we go. Get the reflections off. So a VF1D Gerwalk 172 scale has a couple of resin little figures in it. The Lin Min Mei figure and the Hikaru TV version pilot figure as well. Tiny stuff. This is all going to have to be done by hand. And man, boy, I hope, I haven't taken them out of the baggie yet, but I really hope that the details is good enough, and it doesn't require, a lot of cleanup. It looks pretty good. You can see a little scarf around his neck and his little open face helmet. So there's going to be a lot of hand work to be done to get those figures painted up. All right, so got those two, and now I got to hit these guys. This is the toughest of the three. I think I'm going to try. Let me get some 400 sticks out. I need something with a little bit more bite. I think the one I'm using is a 6. I'm not certain on that, so I'm going to grab another couple of 400 sticks here. These are these little wave sanding sticks. Just to get a fresh one that it's not all saturated, be able to dig in and break down this putty quicker. Time for a microscope. Yeah. No, that's what I got my magnifiers for. Because there's no way I'd be able to do this. I don't know. I got to go get my eyes checked again. I think I need to update my prescription. I may be able to function a little better with an updated set of glasses. But as far as doing the fine detail stuff, yeah, I got to use magnifiers. And I just bought these. These are 2x readers, but then I've showed these up before. I've got these are from Micromark eye adjusters that have lenses that move. You can see the lenses moving in and out. They go from 0.5 to 4. And those work for doing really, really close-up stuff. Really working in close when you got something like hand painting a small figure. I'm going to have to use those for sure when painting the figures for this kit. That's working out pretty good on this side. I added quite a bit of extra putty, knowing, like you guys were talking about, the shrinking properties of it when it dries. But I added a decent little bubble of that there. So as I break that down and get down to the level of the plastic, it's actually looking really, really smooth. It's not going to take. I think this side was a little better than the other side, as far as how deep those pin marks go. These aren't showing up as bad. Of course, I really don't want to break this piece by putting too much pressure on it. So I'm just trying to take that groove off. Definitely grabbing a new stick helped out quite a bit. Got fresh sandpaper always works better. A little bit more. There's just that one in the back. The two by the opening are pretty good. There's just one in the back here that's a little bit more of a pain. But I think I got it. All right. So we're going to keep these separate as well until I prime these. As I get this stuff cut off and cleaned and ready to actually build the cockpit, of course, everything's got to be painted and then assembled. That's probably the more complicated part. The rest of this, I will build what I can. The legs, I'm probably not going to be able to really assemble much because there's going to be a lot of painting that has to go inside before the pieces are put together. There's also another piece that kind of goes on the bottom of the leg that seals off. So if you're looking past the foot or those thruster vents there, you won't see the inside of this, just this gaping open leg. It's actually a nice touch that they put that piece inside. And then you've got the vent on the intake on the top of the, let's see if I can slide this over a little bit more so they can see it. So right here you got the vent, or the intake, I keep saying vent, but the intake turbine there. And then this is that piece that kind of seals off the bottom of the leg. But you see how they show you painting these with it's like a dark gray. So I've got to go and kind of pre-paint everything before I can do the assembly part. And then I've got to be able to mask that off later because obviously we don't want to overspray those gray pieces. But there's also some poly caps that go on in there. There's also some glass lenses that are going to go in last. Those never go in during the initial assembly anyway because of all the painting and stuff that's got to go on. So there's quite a bit that I won't be able to assemble, but I can at least cut the parts out and clean everything up and get it ready to go, ready for paint. My non-model making friends, okay, here we go. What's Nigel saying here? Ask why it takes 150 hours to build a model. Sanding, I say nothing but sanding and painting, stupid tiny stuff. Yeah, especially on aircraft, right? In the cockpit, yeah, that no one will ever see. I know I still have a full armor unicorn that I bought, and this is before I was painting everything. I just rattle canned it in a white primer, and I left it primer, and I used all the stickers instead of decals, and it was just horrible. But the cockpit, the little pilot, I painted like a Macross pilot, and I put him in there, and it's funny how you say that because no one will ever see it, but you know it's there. That's the whole point, right? I know it's there. I painted him. He's in there. He's still hanging out for years to come, but no one will ever see him. But I wanted to kind of do that as a joke, paint him as a Macross pilot. So I even used some putty on his helmet to give him a closed-faced, Macross helmet and everything. All right, so I got all these cut out. That's what I was working on, was the top of the leg here. Let me fold this under, kind of make this smaller so it shows up better on camera. Or I can just do this. There we go. All right, so I got all these. This is what I was working on here. And again, I got to paint some of this stuff too before it goes in. There's just a few steps that got to come in after everything is cleaned up and ready to go. So let me start cutting these legs out. And I might even bag this stuff up. What I sometimes do is if I get a lot of parts that are, especially when there's left and right, is I've got these little Ziploc baggies I've collected from works, little parts and things like that. I'll put everything in a baggie and label it, so that way I don't have to worry about mixing parts up, which we may end up doing tonight. So we'll see how far we get there. And I'll just take a piece of tape, put it on there with an L, just left, right, whatever. Don't have to use a marker. All right, first things first. In fact, like for that instance, like we're talking about these, like the two halves of this leg coming together. Then you've got this little light piece it's a double lens, like landing light that goes on, but you can't even install that piece until the two halves come together. So it's a step-by-step, and those are painted with like a clear red and looks like silver. You got black, flat black around it, and then silver lens with a clear red bulb, essentially. So those are little tiny details that I have to really just put all that stuff will be installed at the last minute. After everything's painted and assembled, those are the last little details to be glued in. So for the meantime, let's see F16. I think, yeah, those are going to be the same. So we're just going to work on the larger pieces. I can cut the other stuff out later. So I got a GA14. And what is this other piece? Oh, that's the G12. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to. So 13 and 14, all right. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to really do a lot of assembly on these legs. It's going to be mostly just cleaning these parts up. Because this also has that intake fan. And those are also got to be painted. It's just, I had forgotten I haven't built a Gerwalk kit straight out of the box like this, other than the 120 scale that actually, yeah, this is probably the second Gerwalk that was specifically Gerwalk. I've had other variable kits from Bandai that you could transform and make a Gerwalk out of it, but years ago. But other than the 120 scale one from Max Factory, this is the first Gerwalk kit I built in years, and so there's quite a bit of extra work, it would seem, that goes into putting this together to make it look nice. I got some polycaps here. I might as well pop those in while we're here. So I've also got the number. Yeah, those are the. Oh, you know what? I forgot this piece for the other side. I forgot that for that one other leg. I'm going to glue that on too. Let me do that first. So this is that little side piece that goes on. These two were actually I got undergated for this piece. I'm not sure why they undergated it, but that's fine by me. Makes it easier to clean up. All right, we're just going to glue this on real quick. My little fingers, or my big fingers, I mean, don't want to deal with these little parts, I'm telling you. There we go. Make sure that one's sealed on there nicely still. A little touch right up front here. Okay. All right. Now we can close that. All right. So here's the other intake fan. As you can see, this one also has a perimeter around it. See, there's like a ridge all the way around, whereas the other one does not. So there's no confusion there where this one goes. All right, yeah, this will sit right up on top here. So as this goes together, it's actually kind of a snug fit too. Or not. Just kind of place that so you can kind of see how that works. So as this comes together, yeah, actually, I'm surprised that being a Hasegawa kit that this actually squeezed together a little bit with some tension. Usually they require glue and everything. There's no real snapping it together. So there you can see, like inside the leg, there's that vent or that intake turbine. And then when this piece, there's a little bit of a joiner between the two, the knee joint really. You'll see the intake here, and then there's two. So I'm just going to pull this back apart carefully with the help of I've got a part separator. I can use that, I suppose. There's kind of a nasty seam right down the middle of this too. There's some raised detail here on the back. It's really going to be difficult to keep that intact when trying to sand that seam down. And then also, I'm going to have to rescribe. There's some lines that go across the seams as well. Those will have to be rescribed. That's just the nature of this kind of a kit. And get that vent out. There we go. Every Macross kit I've ever built has always had some kind of a pretty hideous seam going right down the center of the leg and the arms for that matter. All right, so let's see, this one's here. So let me cut out some poly caps. I need, looks like two per side. This has this point in there. These are directional. And I know that because when the knee joint comes in, it's shaped in a round, half round when it slides through. So it has to be pointed in a specific direction. As well as this is kind of where the back of the foot comes in. What I might be able to do is take this, that piece that kind of closes off the bottom of the leg, might be able to glue that in place, at least on one half of it. And then as I join the two together, I can secure it. So that's number 13. That's this one right here. Let's give you an idea. So this is going to go internally inside the leg, and then it's also got some nice details there too. So I will be trying to panel line that. Once it's inside the leg, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to get to it because it's up in the bottom. What is, I guess before you put the foot on, you should be able to get in there and panel line, because once this will be painted with like a dark gray. 331 is the color. That's this one here. It's Mr. Color 331. So it's kind of it's called dark sea gray. A lot of this kit uses it, especially for like the joints, little hinges in the legs here and there. So this will go in. There's actually a line that lines this up. So this is going to go in just like that and then close off the bottom of the leg. And one thing to be careful about is when gluing this kind of stuff together. I have sometimes been carried away and put quite a bit of glue in, like where this hole is and right where the pin is supposed to go, and not realizing that what happens is on the other side is the glue will soften up that pin mark and then create a sink mark on the other side. So just get just enough in there to glue it, and then that's it. Don't get carried away. So I am going to place this piece, and there is a ridge line there for a guide to line up exactly where it's supposed to go. That's that. So now the other side should line up perfectly when we go put these two halves together. Run your scribers along with panel lines before you glue it up. This gives you a bit more depth plastic to clean the seam without removing the panel lines. That's very true. It's a good point. Is to go over like these really thin lines. This is actually going to be a painted line, so it's not that necessary, but some of this stuff going across, those will have to be scribed. But I see what you're saying. You get a little bit deeper groove. Then when you put the two together and sand it, you're not sanding away the panel line because you've already created a deeper groove there. So this is as far as I'm going to go when painting, as far as gluing pieces on this leg or each leg, because I really need to do that. This whole top area here has to be painted. This area has to be painted, including that, the area here around this polycap, both sides. So this will all have to be painted gray internally, and then have to make sure when we paint this whole thing together, after this is put together, that this doesn't get a ton of overspray from painting the outside. A little bit tricky, but it's not impossible. All right, there is one other piece that goes on here, and that is that is the fin. There's a fin stabilizer fin that goes on the outside of the leg and the front. Just a quick cleanup of these nubs here. All right, this, I believe, okay, yeah, that goes up. So this is going to go this way, just like this. And again, this is one of those pieces that I will install at the end, because I've got to mask this whole outer leg has to be orange. There's got to be a seam here that needs to be addressed. I'm not going to glue this in if I'm trying to address all these scribing lines that go across that seam. So we'll leave that with this leg, and we'll fix that up. So this is going to be the right leg. This is the lower, front section. The fin's on the outside, so this is the right leg. And I could actually, if I wanted to, just do this. So this won't be seen. Let's give it a quick mark. And then this is the right leg here as well. So I'll take all these pieces. I trimmed my fingernails because the type of work I do, nothing worse than getting a bunch of dirt and crap on your nails. So I keep it cut pretty thin, and makes it hard to pick up little tiny parts sometimes, that's for sure. All right, so this is the right leg. This is also the right leg. So we'll keep all these together. This goes here. All right, let me get a small little baggies out here. Let's see, something like, no, that's a little too small. Let's see here. That ought to work. should have some smaller ones in here that I can use. There we go. That'll work. Oh, that's too big. That's too big. I save a lot of these from when I'm working. It's great, you know, when I get a small little Ziploc, it makes it easier sometimes when you gotta separate parts and label them. Okay, and we'll do this. So I'll put that one over there. Whoops. Need to go back and watch that 120 Gerwalk build. I wasn't. See, was I? Yeah, you know what? I wasn't doing the live stream. The time I was building the 120 Gerwalk, I was on Mechanism and Tim Harkins's live stream. That's when I was doing it then. So I don't actually have anything on my YouTube channel with that. Unfortunately, you'd have to go back and look at his old videos to probably find it. Would quite like to get one of those 120 VF19s. Oh, the nose cockpit kits? Yeah, those were kind of cool. I think Dan, my friend Dan has one, possibly. Pretty sure. So yeah, this is all right. We're going to stuff all these in this baggie. That way, when it comes time to paint everything, I can just take it all out. A lot of these parts are going to have to be stuck on tape, you know, some tape skewers or something, just because you know there's no place to grab it with a a skewer, you know. A couple of these runners are already used up because there's a lot of extra parts that are not, you know, there's actually an extra nose cone set for a single seat, and then there's also another 2 full sets of complete body pieces. One's for Valkyrie that's in a, you know, jet form, fighter mode, and there's one that's also made for the fast pack, so there's a body set for that as well. There's a lot of extra parts in this kit that aren't going to be used. You're crying because you can't find the build. There's a lot of if you can get Tim's, you can find. Go back and look at Mechanism, and go back a ways. Pretty sure it was Mechanism. Yeah, if you can find his videos, you should be able to go back far enough to find it. I'm not sure if, or just search it on Facebook. All right, let's see where we're going here. I got these two. Oh, I need, all right, I got to take this one off. A lot of multiple runners, you know, for left and right, obviously. So a lot of these pieces are duplicates because you got all the arms that got to go together later. Whoops, almost lost it. What am I missing? I don't think I'm missing much. I think I pretty much got it all. Yep. So I'll clean these up and glue in this piece. And go hunt for some content on that. Yeah. Wish I'd had been doing the live streams at that point, but that was a long project too. And there was a lot of fiber optics in the cockpit and stuff. It was really fun project. And especially being on the live stream with those guys too, because they would always come back to, hey, let's see the cockpit. So almost every show I was lighting up the cockpit again, and showing everybody that. I didn't even clean up the nubs, but I'm not going to do that because it seems I'll have to clean those up later. I was like, I didn't clean the nubs on these leg pieces, but they're going to be giant seams anyway, so I'll do that when it comes time before I prime already. All right. So I'm going to cut out these last couple of poly caps here, and then I'll glue in that internal piece, just like we did on the other side. So this angles down that way, and this one angles the same direction forward. That was an awesome build. Yeah, thanks, Julius. Did you get to see it at the SEGMC? I don't know if you ever got to see it. I did take that in a plane. That was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. I built the 120 so you could disassemble it. I wired it with little IC connectors so every single piece could come apart. And I actually packed it in 2 carry-ons and had the regular carry-on bag, and then I had a backpack. I put all my clothes and stuff in my wife's bag. I basically disassembled the entire thing and fit it into a hard suitcase. It was ridiculous. I actually did. It did sustain a little bit of damage doing that too. Unfortunately, one of the because I did it in the Hikaru with the Commander version with the big turret on it. I can actually bring it out. You guys can see it in the room here. But the end of the turret took a little bit of damage. I didn't see it until I got home, and I went back and looked at the photos from the event, and I could see the damage in the photos, and I realized it got damaged on the way down there, not on the way back. I thought maybe it was on the way back because I actually took photos too of the assembly process, how I packed it, so I could try to repack everything in the when I took it apart and put it back in the bag. I had to remember how where I put everything and how I did it by layers so I could pack this stupid suitcase. Only on the stream, huh? Well, good. I'm glad you got to see it anyway. So it's out there. Internet's forever. It's going to be there somewhere. So yeah, I had to take photographs of every single layer as I packed the bag, so I can make sure it was put back in the same way. And it still wasn't perfect when I went to go back to get in the bag. It still had issues because it didn't fit. I don't know how it took extra time, I guess, to take it apart, or when I packed it the first time and then trying to rush through it and get it back in the bag because they were goes this way, because they were closing the studio, the place where we had the event. They wanted to get us out of there, so I had to take this thing apart and put it back in the suitcase. So took a little bit of effort, but we managed to get through it. It was still pain transporting that thing in a suitcase. But everybody was egging me on. Come to California. You got to come to California. So I was like, all right, fine, I'm coming. We'll make it happen. I got to cut those out too. There's 2 of those. F16. That's on this runner again, I believe. Nope. That's these up here. So I got these, another duplicate runners. This is that little light piece that I was talking about. So like twin bulbs, little tiny things come off or go on the back of the leg, and they just have to be installed last. But at least there's actually a peg and a little piece in the back that I can actually put it on a skewer, make it a lot easier to paint. I might actually have to do it by hand, at least prime it on a skewer, but it's so small. I'm pretty sure it's going to have to be painted by hand. I just love big stompy robots. Oh, what are we talking about here? The hangar was sweet too. Yeah, I wish I'd got the opportunity to take the hangar to California, but I was kind of disappointed at IPMS with that. I took it to IPMS thinking it should do well, but I didn't even get. I don't even think I might have got a recognition ribbon or something like. But I don't even think I got that. I didn't win anything that year. I didn't even place in most cases. It's just all like, you made a nice kit, and they give you a little consolation ribbon, but it wasn't like there was nothing to shout about. Hopefully this next year will be better, because IPMS is going to be in Monroe, which is only like 15 minutes away from my house now. And it's also going to be in April. No, excuse me, not April, June. Normally in April every year. It's going to be in June, so I won't have to miss it because I'll have my vacation time set aside. It looks like, if my schedule doesn't change at this current time, that I'll need to request that day off, but I have time to do it, and I'll have the vacation time to do it too, so should be good. Putting all the left leg pieces in here, and we'll prime those up later. Okay, so that's all this. Now we got some of the upper leg and knee portions. The nice part about the way they designed this is there are swivel points. So the knee joints can also swivel, but also like right where it connects to the fuselage, there's two swivel points. So everything can kind of turn a little bit, so you can get that more natural looking leg spread. When this kit is freestanding, it's not just like the old Bandai kits. They were straightforward. You had no pivoting, no angling, nothing. So the Gerwalk, was kind of rigid looking. It didn't move much. You didn't have that natural looking posability. It's okay for that build. You got more followers. Yeah, I suppose there's always that silver lining, right? I think it was taken to Japan for a big show. Wait, what are we talking about? 15 years ago? The last working in the hobby industry, one of my customers showed me his work on a 72 scale Macross aircraft carrier. Wow. That must have been impressive. I've seen some guys doing 3D print stuff now, making the Prometheus and Daedalus in like 1/700 scale, or whatever scale I can't remember what scale they're doing these Macross builds in, but they're with 3D printers and all that technology. It's crazy some of the stuff they're coming out with. All right, so some of these I can actually glue together. So we're gonna start assembling these leg and knee joints, and it looks like these are the GCs, which are these runners here. So twin runners, got to do these by twos. So, and these will be painted again in that gray color. But for the time being, we're just going to build them, and then maybe this week sometime, or before the next stream, we'll have some prime and paint done. We'll be able to start assembling more. We'll see. So 11 and 12. All right, so that's going to do two of those. Okay, so these actually have a polycap, and that's 4 and 5. So, all right, so this is one of those articulated pieces. So this is where I think that's it for that. Actually, no, then we got these we're doing 2 of these as well. So we got a bunch of by 2s here that we're going to have to build for this whole entire upper leg section here. Oh, okay. I see how this works. So when we go to assemble this, there's actually a kneecap, but that goes on after we insert the lower or the knee portion into the lower leg. That has to go on first, and then the kneecap goes over the top of that. It's not like 3 meters long. Wow. Well, there was a guy that built a huge STF1. He actually built 2, and he had a fully transformable movie version one taken to Macross Worldcon last year or the year before, and it was about 6 or 7 feet long. But when it would fully transform too, it was made out of like foam, almost like that sheet foam. It's crazy. I thought the guy was a bit mad that he spent over 10K New Zealand on the build. Wow. Whew. That's a lot of money, but you know what? I bought expensive kits before, like that Macross, that 120 scale. That was a big build as well. I got nothing to say. All right, so there's those, and then there's a lot of these polycaps coming out. C7, huh? All right, that. And then 16 and 17, right? Yep. I like just cleaning parts up all at once. That's why, sometimes it's like you cut one out and clean it up or whatever. But if I'm doing a full, trying to multitask, I'll cut a bunch of pieces out. And do it all at once. Oh, gotcha. So that's got to go in later. Oh, that goes behind the knee. Huh. Oh, I see it now. Interesting. So there's another piece. Well, that will just be masked off. So there is a piece that goes behind the knee right there. Then we got the feet. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just these knee portions for now because there's quite a bit going on here. I don't want to miss something. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all these out again on this side. Quite a few pieces to clean up here. Oh, here's the other one. One of them broke off. It was off of the runner when I took this out of the bag, and I was like waiting for that step to come across so I could use that part. I was looking for the other side of it. I'm like, where'd it go? It's like, oh yeah, it's already sitting on the bench over here waiting. And then we have this one here. Okay, so I think that's it, except for the kneecap, but I won't be too worried about that. We'll get those later. All right. Time to clean the parts. Actually, you know what I got to do first? I got to get all these polycaps. So there's a bunch. 1, 2, 3 per side, it looks like. So, yeah, so it's going to be 6 of these guys. A good majority of this kit is all these same number 7 polycaps. Hasegawa's 30-second kit is around 100. I forget what Nigel, you have to tell me what the conversion is. Like in US dollars. I can't remember. 100 New Zealand, is that around like 70 or something like that? Or no, it can't be that much. I can't remember. I know every week we go through this, like, what does it cost here? I have 3 more 48 scale VF Skull Squadron kits. I have 1 Max and Miria 148 Valkyrie. I have 2, 1 YF19, 1 I think it's a VF19. Trying to remember, but they're and then I just picked up another 48 scale. I can't remember. It's like a certain variant of the VF or the YF19. There's a lot of little nibs here to take care of. 60-ish. Okay, yeah, that's about right, I think. But that's a one. What do you say? 132nd. But that's a modern aircraft, right? Yeah, there's no Macross kits that I know of that are in 132nd. I think yeah, all the biggest stuff is 148. I wish Hasegawa would. I mean, there's got to be some demand for it. And I've said this before, but it would be so nice. They make these Valkyrie kits in 148, but none of them, obviously none of them are transformable or variable, as Bandai would call it. But I wish they would make a 148 in Battleroid. I don't know why they don't. It's just like they got a bunch of different Battleroids in 172, different versions, different variants. But then you get to 148 and it's all just fighters, all fighters. Okay, so just plugging away here. There's going to be some parts I might just run out. I might run out of time just trying to clean these up before I can glue them together. Some of this stuff I will probably clamp as well to try to get a nice bead of glue to come out, so I take care of these seams. Later they'll look be easier to clean up when you have a little bit of extra. There it is. I was like, where is the nub on this part? $60-ish, yeah. I got a bunch of Macross kits left. I even got the Hasegawa, the new Gouge. I've also got that one. And this is undergated too. What a weird place to put an undergated. A little tiny sharp pin. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the other side because I just noticed that and I don't think I got it. Oh, I must have, yeah. I did get rid of it. Okay. Yeah. Some of these parts are so damn small. I'm missing one. There it is. I didn't cut that one off of this one. I knew I missed it. All right. .48 looks really nice. Yeah, they are. I've got the Lightning, and then I've got a standard. I think I still have a standard. I might have actually sold the standard. The brown, the gray or tan YF19. I kept the Lightning. And then I bought another one from a friend who was selling one off, and it was like the not the not the Thunderbird version or Angelbird, or it was a different squadron. And I'll have to pull it out of the case to see for sure. I can't remember which one it was, but it's definitely unique. I've also got a low vis, regular VF1A, low visibility paint scheme. It has a low visibility, complete set of low vis decals, which is really nice. A few of my friends jumped on board when that one came out. But what I'm waiting for is actually should be coming out any day now, I think, is the reprint of the O. Gundam the O. It's supposed to be a fourth quarter release. Well, I think we're in the fourth quarter now, right? So let's go, Bandai. Get that thing out of here. I prepaid for that one already from USA Gundam Store. They don't do like everything. Japan will, you pre-order something, they don't make you pay for it until it ships. Not USA Gundam Store. Nope, they take your money. Make you wait for it. Take your money now. Okay, you'll get it later when it finally releases. I'm going to have to clean up quite a bit here, but for the time being, I'm just taking the nubs down. Let's see, Ravens version. Yeah, that's the one I was trying to figure out, Nigel. That's the one I had. That's the one I just bought from a friend of mine in San Diego. Is the Ravens version. I can go pull it out of the stash if you want to see it. Just let me know. 4,800 yen on the hobby link at the moment. That's for what, the Ravens version? Yeah, I don't remember how much I paid when I bought. He was selling a bunch of kits at once, and I bought several from him. One of them was the Ravens. There was, I think, a couple of Gundam in there, perhaps, but I don't know. I seem to always fall back to the Macross builds. I really enjoy the Macross builds. I guess I should have picked a different screen name, huh? So the Gundamonium works. If I'm doing just Macross all day long. It's all good. Not going to change it now. Yeah, too much of a following with this name. I don't want to change it now. You know, I'm going to have more to clean up here. I don't know, for some reason, everybody's probably going, why aren't you doing, cleaning those up before you glue them together? Well, I'm just taking down a majority of the nubs on these. I know I'm going to have to clean up quite a bit on the seams anyway, but what I'll probably do is glue them, and then I've got these little clamps. You can buy these at Home Depot. They're really pretty strong, sometimes almost too strong, but they do a good job of clamping parts that you want to squeeze together good and get a nice little glue bead. So it makes it way easier to clean up a seam when you have that bead coming through. That way you're just sanding off that extra plastic, and you don't have to do any gap filling if you do it right. BestViewerStreamView.com. Remove the space. Oh boy. Everybody can see that one now, huh? Getting spammed from friggin' Twitch again. It's only a matter of time. It's been a couple of weeks. I'm surprised they didn't spam me earlier. You always get me though. All right, let's see what we got here. My local hobby shop is getting it until getting it until March. You talking about the O or wait? So you already got your O from USGS, USA Gundam Store, Julius. I don't know. Your new name's full of me. I see you, but I want to call you Juggernaut. I guess I could. So you already got your O? Is that what you're talking about? Because I have not even got an email from them. I don't think. Huh. You got it. Really? How long ago? I'm just curious. I'm still waiting. I'll just send them an email, I guess, and go, okay, what's the holdup, guys? I want to buy it. It's only 54 New Zealand. 4,800 yen is so cheap. About a week or two ago. Huh. Did you receive an email prior to that saying they were shipping it? Let's go back here. We're going to zoom out just a little bit because I'm going to go grab that Ravens kit real quick so you guys can see that. Let's see. It should be relatively easy to get to. Well, I suppose I don't. That's right. I got a few. Other than the Ravens kit, I got a couple of Mosfeta kits. That's what I got. That's right. After looking in my backlog there, I see what else I bought from that guy. He was selling like 3 Mosfeta Cyclone kits. So here's the Ravens. Kind of see that. Take the glare off of it. There. So from the VFX2 series. Anyway, we're just about ready to close up shop here, boys and girls. So let me put this back. I will put those back. Well, Julius, enjoy that kit. I'm going to have to hit up USA Gundam Store and figure out why I have not even seen an email come through for my order on that yet. Yeah, I'm not too happy about that. I need to get that taken care of, man. Shipment email notification. Yeah. Wow, that sucks because, like I said, I have not even seen anything come through. I'm going to have to check after the stream here, figure that out. So, all right, guys, boys and girls, we're going to call this one a night. Sorry, not too exciting stream tonight. Just a little, clean up and sanding and clipping. The basic stuff. As we get deeper in here, once I start throwing some paint down, it'll be a little more interesting, I think. So put it back in the post. And I put it back in the post on its way to me. Yeah. Wait a minute. You want me to put my Ravens back to you? No. Sorry, Nigel. I just got it. I'm hanging on to that one. Anyway. Thanks again, everybody, for joining in and hanging out and chatting through the whole process here. We'll see you guys next week. And, smash that like button, subscribe, hit the bell I'll let you know every time I'm doing a live stream, which is pretty much every Wednesday. It's not that hard to remember, but subscribing doesn't cost you anything. I know everybody in the chat has already done that, but for everybody else, tell your friends and help a brother out. Thanks for the stream. Good night, fellows. Yep. Good night, everybody. We'll start in the chat here. So we had Nigel in first, then we had Nick, then Julius, and then shortly after that, we had Giovanni. Always like to go through here and thank everybody that was in the chat for participating. That was pretty much it, I think, as far as active chatters until we got... we had another one pop in, right? After that, there we go. What was it? I can't remember now. I'm sorry if I missed you. I'm trying to go through too quickly here. Yeah, I think I missed it. I know there was one more. But where are you? Oh, yeah, that's right. It was Phil Artiste Studio. That's right. Thank you again so much for jumping in. All right, you guys. We're going to head out. We'll see you next Wednesday. Same time, same channel. Later on. Peace out.